Yeah, so hi Dionne, how's it going?
Hi. No,
uh
I'm decent.
yeah. Let's we can do some just a little introduction, remind us who you are and the piece that you did in Kickback and um any other info you feel like sharing about who you are. And we'll start there. Yeah.
Sounds great. So my name is Dionne. I use she, they pronouns, and my piece in Kickback was Pangea. So what else y'all want to know about me? I know I do a lot of different things, like different artistic work. Like I act. In this piece, I got to like direct my specific piece, and then also like I wrote it, and I was in it a little bit, which is like kind of a wild experience. Um, but those are some of the things I do, write and act, and I teach a little bit and the teaching
Hmm.
artist stuff. So, that's kind of like the mix. I try to like try a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really enjoyed getting to work on this project. It was cool.
Totally. It's great to hear. And, Dionne also is one of the fabulous actors who joined About Face in the most recent round of outreach shows last summer as well. So it's, we're just excited to continue to get to know you in new and exciting ways. So tell me a little bit about Pangea. What inspired the piece for you? I know that there is a literal physical component to it of something from the Stony Island Arts Bank archives, but then also just personally, artistically, what inspired you to create this piece?
It's a great question. I feel like I just wanted to sort of reflect on, I don't know, just the idea kind of going into the arts bank and being like, okay, like what could I create? Kind of knowing that, okay, like I do know a cool drummer, like I know some dancers. So it was kind of like based off of that, like in the beginning for me, like what could I incorporate that? How could I throw those things in? And then, yeah, I just came across this book on like a comic book on South African history that was like really like just like stood out to me in a lot of ways. And I'd already been curious about like, because I heard they had like, things related to like Egyptian culture and things like that. So, I mean, I just kind of sometimes want to talk about like how I'm having trouble finding words today, but like how the past has kind of like led up to where we are right now, and like making people see that clearly, like what you look at and interact with every day, a lot of it is inspired by, or not even inspired by, just like a direct relative of like systems that have been in place for so long. Um, so
Totally.
that's what I can say. And so I found those materials and they just kind of like all clicked into like the puzzle of it. Um, and I was just like, okay, I can tell this story about like colonization and about like the types of like blackness or black people that like society deems acceptable.
Mm,
Um,
mm, mm.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it was cool.
that's really fascinating stuff. I think that question of how does that societal picture of you know the ideal black person, like where does that come from, and how does that happen, and what are all the things that we're ignoring and forgetting when society is like, you should be like this rather than like this. And I think that's so interesting. um and related to that, I mean, you kind of spoke on this a little bit, but I'm wondering, was there any aspect of this that felt um like autobiographical, like, or to phrase it another way, like how and or where do you see yourself existing in the piece and in the work, uh, in any sort of specific or figurative sort of way?
Good question. I see myself. I made it. So it was so personal to like put out in front of people. I think if you like listen to like the words that I wrote, I talk a little bit about like how colonization has like made it so people like they only, for example, when it comes to religion, like recognize like white Jesus, you know. And I talk about some conversation I had with my parents like years ago. We were talking about because like there was some rumor that Kanye was going to play Jesus in a movie or something, and so like my dad was like, "That's ridiculous," and I was like, "Yeah, ridiculous because it's Kanye, but like, what if Jesus was black?" And they were kind of like that's not like, you know, that's not the picture of Jesus that they grew up with, and they're, you
Certainly.
know, they're immigrants from Ghana, and they definitely grew up with like that one, you know, that one white Jesus. And now that I'm like looking up, researching, like finding out different things, it's like it don't really have to be that way. Like white people be just the whitewashing of history and things like that, like is just so rampant and like what we learn, especially like going to school and growing up here. So like I feel like this was also for me, and I feel like there's so much more history that I want to learn, but like looking at this piece of South African history, which I knew, but like not in this detail of like there were these tribes, like very specific tribes, and like there was Dutch people and British people who just came and like slowly, like, you know, they were like, we're going to be on this corner of the land, and then like slowly like took over everything, like, you know, and then started killing people. So it just like, and there were these like powerful tribes, they were all these separate groups. And so like if they had been able to like communicate and come together, like they might have been less, because some of them won like individual battles and things like that, they might have been able to like overpower them. But like, so now I feel like I think there's a disconnect and within the Black community when it comes to just like the same issues everybody else got problems with. But I'm like, if we fix these, like, and can figure it out, like the homophobia got to go, the sexism got to go. Like, if we can like pull these things apart, like, and really understand each other, like we can overcome a lot more. So yeah, so I feel like that's me. It's just like learning like about like my parents' history and like that being part of my personal life. And just thinking about my friends and like how we interact with the world. A lot of us are like queer Black folks, and like, you know, I have so many like, you know, like obviously like cis and straight like Black people that I love, but then like sometimes when it comes to like their transphobia and things like that, it's just like, can you please like, you know, come on down.
Absolutely.
Like, we could figure it out, like we really could, but like I also think there's like a need for education too as well. And like, so that's why like, especially when it comes to within the community, I am like, you know, a little more understanding, but then also like the work has to happen. Like you don't get a pass.
Totally.
Because like the resources are there, we're all connected now. So yeah, I feel like that kind of sums it up.
There's no excuse other than willful ignorance.
Yes, exactly. Not with Google right there and free. Like, as long as you have internet, like she's there for you. She'll hold your hand, you know. Yeah. I was also gonna say putting my roommates in it, like, which is something that like I was already thinking like, oh, like who do I know who could like help me with this? And since we were in the, you know, the pandemic, we got the stay-at-home order, and it was like no filming at the Arts Bank. So I was just like, okay, like my roommates are all really talented, and they just helped me like shoot it, set it up. Omar and Sarah came up with like the choreography, so they're like choreographers, and like it was just so cool, like to just like work with people in my community too. And I was also like, that's how we like, you know, that's how we impact the world. And like, I hope to continue to like be able to work with and employ and organize with like folks within my community, within my personal life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. And I'm very grateful that you, you know, that you had that impulse and followed that impulse to bring, you know, to bring your community into the work, because it was really, really awesome to see what you all created together. So this is not a question I shared with you before, but it just came up as I was listening. And this is like one of those questions that like, you, the artist, may be like, I'm not going to answer that. I want you to answer that. But I wonder, like, you know, where the name Pangea came, how, like, how does your artistic impulse for the piece and these ideas that you were just speaking of relate to the title of the piece, or how did that become Pangea for you? I'm just personally intrigued by
Yes.
things that resonate for me about it, and I just wanted to hear from the artist's mouth.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you some things that I was thinking about, at least when I came up with it, but it doesn't have to change your ideas. So first of all, the final track that plays, that they're like dancing to with like kind of the more light and things like that. That is called Pangea, actually. And so in the arts bank, when I was there, like researching, it was like playing. I think they were just like listening to the different records. And I was like, oh, this one sounds really cool. Because they've got this like house collection of house music. And so that was just already like the title of the track. I was like, oh, that's perfect. And I think that just in that connection way, I feel like that we're searching for like connection.
Totally.
And that now we are more connected. So like, I know it's not as simple as like one world, like, you know, like that we're all gonna be able to just like cut everything out. But like, what if we have to imagine that that's possible? Because like, I feel like as a species, as a whole, like humanity is kind of like, things have gotten out of hand. They've gotten out of hand. We're drilling into the earth and like doing all these things for like money. Like we're hurting the planet. Like, you know, like taking land from native peoples has really like messed up the ecosystem and things like that. And I'm like, we gotta fix this quick, because things gonna just keep falling apart. So I think if there is like space for like understanding, and I hate that sometimes, like, I feel like for some people to get it, it takes like huge events. I think we just need to like, there's so many wild things that have happened in the past already. Like we really have to look at that and be like, okay, cool. This didn't work. This didn't work. This didn't work. I think colonization is tearing the world apart, and still right now. And I just feel like all the trickle down like dynamics are still at play because of that, and white supremacy and things like that. So it's really like, are y'all gonna, you know, take off the privilege glasses or not? Like, are you gonna actually like do something to like save future generations? Like, you know, are we going to keep doing this? Because it's just regressive. I'm like, your life could be better if you weren't so hateful. Like, actually, like these people could enrich your life and like your community. And you know, like we see it like I feel like in every field, like when it comes to science, for example, or like psychology or whatever, like that was very like at least when Westerners started doing it, was like all these studies based off like white men or whatever. And so that's not effective like for everybody, you know, like these like generalizations don't, like that just didn't translate. But the more like, you know, the studies they have with different people, like the more accurate like things can be. And so I just feel like, yeah, in every aspect, like the more we're able to like kind of feed off each other. But we can't do that when like, you know, people are getting killed for no reason, like just to maintain like these wild ass capitalist systems that like only benefit such a small number of people. It's
90%.
Yeah, it's illogical.
Yep. And it should be illegal, but we're not ready for that conversation. That's great. It's kind of a nice segue into my next question, but did you have like, is there a specific audience in mind when you created this piece? Or like, who do you want to see this piece? Who do you think needs to see this piece? And what do you hope they walk away with?
Is there a specific group? I mean, I guess people who haven't maybe thought of all these connections yet, so that could really be anybody. I feel like it would be useful for people who are on the fence about things or feel like they can sort of stand on the sidelines and like not participate in like,
Mm,
I don't know, the revolution, creating a better world. Like, I feel like we've all got to, like, this might shake some people awake. And I think, for people who maybe are like already committed to learning and stuff, it might just be like a kind of affirming and make them think about some things too. Like, for example, one of the kind of like ideas in this, like about like kings and queens, like that is this very like European style of ruling that
mm,
like now like we as like Black folks are like, we came from kings and queens too, like, or royalty and things like that,
mhm,
which is cool. But
mhm,
like royalty is also, it's that same kind of like hierarchy when you think about it. And it's like, I'm not saying it's wrong for us to think of ourselves that way, but I think we have to like be like, why is that the thing? Like,
mm,
or one of the things that like, or at least if we knew or talked about the meaning behind it. And somebody told me that, I think like after Black is King came out or something like
mhm.
that, they were like, this is one of the conversations happening. That was really interesting. And yeah, it changed like the way I thought about something. So
Sure.
so I feel like it could really be for anybody. I feel like young folks get it. Like, I feel like to a certain extent, but maybe they haven't looked at all this history. So a little bit of everybody. I know that's like the easy answer, but
No, it's a great answer though. I think it's great, and I think you're absolutely right that there are a lot of different kinds of people that need to encounter that information and learn to think differently. We'll say, yeah,
Mhm.
totally, totally. Um, then I guess my last question I have for you for now, unless something else pops up as we continue talking, but like, you already mentioned briefly that like the creation of this project was interesting because we were in the middle of the pandemic Lovato, and and suddenly we thought we were doing one thing and then we thought we were doing something else. But I'm wondering, in your experience of it, what was the most surprising part of creating this work? The thing that you didn't expect, or and something that was unanticipated. Yeah, what surprised you about it?
I feel like how many things I already kind of knew how to do. I was like so nervous about like directing, for example. I was like, I haven't really done this. I guess I have to like figure out what shots I want and like da da da. Like, how does all this work? So that was like nerve-wracking for me. I also was like, I'm always worried when I start something new. I'm like, is this gonna make sense to anybody? Like, I don't know. So I still sometimes, especially like being like or starting out like primarily as an actor, I feel like you are performing other people's words and like work, and like you obviously add your own spin and flavor to everything, but the vision is not really yours. You're just like bringing something to the vision of this like individual character. But like with directing and like writing and stuff, like it's different. It's just like such like different roles to kind of like get to like push pieces here and there. And I also learned the woes of like trying to direct something and perform in it, because that doesn't really make sense. Like, and now I'm like, oh yeah, people don't do this for a reason. Because I think one of the poems where I'm in front of the projector, I was like that day with my roommate Kenya, who shot everything. Um, it was hard because I was like, oh gosh, like I'm not remembering my lines because I'm thinking about all these different things, like the audio and the camera
Yeah.
angles and just all of this stuff. Like I didn't realize like how difficult it would be to do both of those things at once. Um, yeah. And also I'm just a little more aware of like, okay, like the things that I think in my mind like actually can like make sense to other people. And like that's really cool, because that was what I was like, how is this gonna translate from pictures in my head, like writing things. Yeah, it also is just like giving me a little more like, I feel like I second guess myself a lot. I feel like a lot of us do that. And so I'm like, look at this, you made this, so you can do the next one, like
Yeah.
just trying to like be and like encouraging of myself. And there were so many cool like projects and stuff that other people made. So I was just like, look at this beautiful thing. Also,
Mhm.
congratulations to you. Like you know, putting this whole thing together.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun to sort of, just like you were saying, like, it's neat to have a brainchild. And you're like, I think this would be cool. Does anyone else think this is gonna be cool? And then people get, yeah, and then people are like, it is cool, and you're like, oh my gosh, great. I know I'm a nerd, but I'm not that much of a nerd. But yeah, it's super super neat, and I'm just so grateful that that you did trust yourself enough to do this, because I think the work that you created is so fantastic and so unique, and just really really exciting stuff. And I kind of love that the thing that was most surprising is like how much you already know, and like like that's just really cool to like get to surprise yourself in that way and be like, that's right, damn it, fuck you inside voice, I am really good at what I'm doing.
Right. It is. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
I gotta keep pushing this, like pushing that button, like
yeah.
pushing myself. Like my mom used to always say that to me, like you don't like things, you don't like to try new things, like you just like, and then you'll try it because you'll be made to do it and then you like it. She's like typical Dionne, basically. Which is so true. So I think we can all kind of like push ourselves out of our comfort zones. Like I this is funny, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, I'm always so talkative around my family, but like around other people, I used to be like really shy. And then I had to be like, okay, like sometimes I'd be thinking like funny things in class, but I wouldn't say them. So I was like, I don't know what people are gonna think. And I just had to kind of push myself, like, okay, like say the thing, like just do it. Just like once at a time, I'll be gassing myself up in my head, like, okay, you got this. Just make the joke, just make it, and then I got used to doing it. So, you never know. Like, I feel like now I have a lot easier time talking to people because I feel like a lot of people want to be, yeah, they just want connection. They want to be noticed. They want to be approached. So, yeah, I don't know. We've all got, I feel like, some real like power within us, and we can like really make changes. So that's just cool to realize.
Totally. It's in, yeah, just like I'm just uplifting what you said, that like the only thing that's stopping us from doing the thing is not doing it. You just have to do it, then anything's
Yeah.
possible. Well, yeah, I think that's all the questions I have for right now. Is there anything that's, anything else you want to leave us with? But no obligation, just making space for it if you like.
Um, yeah. I feel like I said everything. I feel anything I add now would probably be corny. Like we have the tools, like you said, but
Yeah.
the world, we can make it better. We have things that, that people haven't always had, like this connection, this internet, this like ways to like organize and things like that. And there is some other like shenanigans. Like we also live in like the surveillance state. We are first always making jokes like, oh, they're listening to this conversation right now.
Right. The FBI agent in the computer.
Right, exactly. So so there are, obviously some things that are still really hard to like get past and get through, but I feel like we can do it. I'm on our side, especially like the side of like, I feel like queer, like people of color, queer Black folks, trans Black folks, specifically have like, they have the keys because they're like dealing with all the, I'm trying to find the next word, BS of these systems. And they're like, I see this is wrong. I see that is wrong. Like a lot of this is wrong. Y'all wrong. And then so like, you've got that perspective, that is so valuable because you can see like where the cracks are a lot of the times. So that's what I'll say. Cool. And can I plug something else?
Please plug away. Yeah.
Okay. So I am directing this other thing that's like a web series pilot. With the Illinois Caucus for Adolescent Health, or ICA. I work with their theater company, FYI, usually. They've got like little plays and stuff. But we are making like a web series pilot, and it's gonna
Very
be on
cool.
OTV. So yeah, and that's like gonna premiere in July. So if you follow like Ikagram on Instagram or OTV or me, I'm Strawberry Gelato on Instagram. Then there'll be like some updates and stuff. It's gonna be really cool. It's basically like about a game show that's designed to make people have better conversations about sex. So it's like
Oh,
sex
okay, yeah.
ed kind of like thing. And I feel like it's really fun and cute. And I'd love for people to see it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I'm certainly going to check it out, and hopefully other people will spread the word and other people can check it out too. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love when my friends are working in the pandemic and like
Yes.
working and making shit and not stopping. It's awesome. Yeah,
And like it is really nice if we're still able to create things and
totally.
work together. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to do that.
For sure.
I appreciate it.
And thank you for
thanks for this
doing it.
interview. This has been
Yeah.
fun.
Thanks
Oh,
for
you're welcome.
sharing a little time with me and getting to chat about some art stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's what we got, y'all. So thanks for tuning into our little artist talk.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.